I applied for the job knowing that what Channel 5 is for the Valley. And
Right.
if I could go and be the morning anchor and be the
Right.
face of the morning news, I knew what a big deal it was going to be and what that. So even though it's a smaller market than Houston, I was going to be the morning news anchor, the face of the morning Valley news, and I knew what it was. I knew
Right.
what an opportunity, what it meant, and that was probably the coolest thing because also what I got to experience was also going back home as an adult.
Well, welcome back to Once a Cardinal, the podcast that brings back Harlingen High School alumni together to share their stories of life after high school, our journeys, our challenges, our triumphs, and the common HHS roots that shaped us into who we became. Today's guest is someone who has made a serious impact in this world, a former reporter, former producer, TV news anchor. You might know him from his years at KRGV, Channel 5. I got to do the five
I
alive,
do this, gotta do this,
five
yes.
alive. uh, then he went to co-anchor at Houston's Morning Dose at a CW39. He has spent 20 years telling other people's stories that matter. And today he's sharing his story with us. He is currently the voice of the Houston Independent School District, the largest school district in Texas, helping connect communities through the power of storytelling. This is where I get excited because I love storytelling. And if you're not already following him on social media, look him up. You're missing out. This guy's got energy to share with everybody. But before all that, Trey was a Cardinal. And
I
I'm
got
excited.
coffee.
I'm excited and honest, a little nervous to share the screen here with a guy that's very good in front of the screen. But welcome, Trey. Thank you. And thank you for being my guest.
No, Gilbert, thank you, man. I'm excited to do this. This is fun. This is fun. Like I told you, hey, we're both storytellers. We love this kind of stuff. This is amazing. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me. Appreciate it.
I'm excited. And I just found out that you graduated 2002, 2001.
I did. 2000, I was class. Yes, I was class of 2002. When I asked you, well, what was your class? You said 84. I was born in 1983, so I was 2 years old when you graduated.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. So when you were in high school, when did the split take place?
When I was in high school, the split
Or
had
when,
already
I
taken
mean,
place. I have some my I think it happened with my sisters. I remember they were no, but they all went to North though. Oh, I don't remember what year the split happened. Because I know they went to the old school. What was it? The
right,
Alamo, right? Or
the high school. So there's Harlingen High and then there's Harlingen South.
yeah, all of my family went to Harlingen North. But I
Right,
remember when the split happened. It happened way
right.
before I yeah it
Before
happened,
then. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
went to Memorial Middle School and
So
then I
you went
went
to
to Harlingen High
Memorial.
School.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's go to elementary or even your old hood. What were you
long
like as a kid, man?
Long Elementary was my elementary.
Oh,
And
cool. My niece teaches there.
who's your niece?
Erica Ramirez. You might have
Erica Ramirez.
well,
That's a very common name. I feel like I probably
yeah,
know her. Does she? Because I know. Does Danielle teaches there? Danielle. I knew her as Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Yeah, I think that's still her last name. But yes, Miss Villanueva was my fifth grade teacher there at Long
Oh
Elementary.
wow.
Her mom was also a teacher there. So yeah, I started off at Long Elementary, and yeah, I grew up around that neighborhood. I grew up actually the house that I grew up in was right across the street from the high school.
Oh
That was the house that
wow.
I grew up in. So my backyard was right where the flagpole was, so I could hear the tardy bun. I could run across the street
Really?
that's how close. Yeah, so that was. But when I was at elementary, though, we lived across the street from Long Elementary, so I went to Long Elementary, and then in elementary we moved to that house, and yeah, that was the house I grew up in, and went to Memorial Middle School, and I wasn't much of a yeah, I don't know. I don't. You know what's funny? You asked me what kind of kid I was. I don't know. I was a weird kid. I was uh I like to play outside and ride my bike, and then I watched a lot of Power Rangers, and I like Batman, and then I was just kind of a weird, just kid running around Harlingen.
Yeah, well, you mentioned your sisters are a little older than you, right? So were you kind of like
Yes,
running around on your own?
I was the youngest and only boy, so you can imagine I was
Yeah,
very
el
spoiled.
consentido.
Yes, el niño, I could do
El-
no wrong. I could do no wrong. I could do no wrong. I like to say that I'm the favorite child because I'm the youngest and only boy.
So we have that
But
in common. I'm the youngest of six. So
oh, okay, yeah. So you get it. You get it why you also understand why we like attention, why we
yeah,
like
yep,
validation, why we yeah,
yeah,
yes, it's all of this stuff.
yeah,
It's all encoded in what we are.
yeah. And you're probably like me. My mom, by the time I came along, I had some rough brothers and sisters, and she was tired. So basically, just come home alive was the rule for
Yeah.
me.
I remember being the one that with my sisters they all had a curfew and I was the one that ended up not having the curfew.
Not having,
I actually I have a very vivid memory of staying out past my curfew in high school, coming home, getting in trouble, getting grounded, but then after that I never had a curfew. So I don't know how that happened, but it happened because I was a niño. So
yeah, El Nino. We got away with a lot.
we
So,
did. We did.
so what kind of student were you then in elementary school?
I was a good student. I was a good student. Very, you know what's funny? I actually came across recently. I was packing some stuff and putting it into storage, and I came across all my old like certificates. And remember, at Long Elementary, they used to give these little ribbons out for honor roll, principal's pride,
Right?
and yeah, no, yeah, I was a good student. I wouldn't say I was overly studious. Like I wasn't I cared to do good and I wanted to make good grades and I wanted to, all of that, but I wasn't I'd like to think I wasn't overly obsessed about being very studious, if that
Right.
makes any sense,
Yeah, yeah.
but also not that it came natural to me either. It was just kind of I cared about what I did. I wanted to make sure I did good, but I didn't excel in everything. I was an A B student. I wasn't always at the, I wasn't always at the top kind of thing. But yeah, no, it was. I have very good memories of elementary. Elementary was
Was
just
there a
fun.
teacher that inspired you, or I had my I think it was my fifth grade teacher. Her name was Miss Kaufman. She had us write a story, and her the stuff that they write on top of the paper really
Yeah,
made me feel good to the point where I became more of a story writer and writing, trying to write poems and stuff like that because of what she wrote. Was there a teacher that inspired you, something like that?
I wouldn't say in elementary there was a teacher that inspired me, but I remember feeling really comfortable with my pre-K teacher, Mrs.
Mhm.
Vela. And I remember that Miss Vela and Miss Chacon. And I remember because I was at home with my mom. I remember my mom was the stay-at-home mom and she took care of us. I remember going and feeling just they made me feel really, really safe and really just they were just so even years afterwards, even I remember she was always the teacher that I just kind of remembered and would go back and talk to and just and
Right.
I remember her very I remember I have very fond memories of her. So I would say that Miss Vela was probably a good one in elementary. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So did you go first through sixth at Long, or did you change elementary
I
school?
did. I did first to sixth at Long, and then I went to middle school at Memorial for seventh and eighth, and then I went to Harlingen High School for my
For
high
ninth.
school from yeah,
So,
9 to 12.
see, that's foreign to me. When I was high school was until 10th grade. So when people go to
Oh,
school at and they say high school, I'm thinking 10th grade. So uh, some
also, did it back in the day? Wasn't middle school? It was called junior high.
it was
I feel
junior
like
high.
back in the day. I feel like they used
Yeah,
that was more of the common term,
the
and then I
common
forgot
term,
when it changed in the state of Texas, and it kind of then it became a middle
a
school.
middle school.
The
Yeah,
way they rebranded, if you will. But
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was Coke. I went to Coakley, and it was
Oh, yeah.
seventh, eighth, and ninth. So that was different.
Wow.
So when I
Wow.
hear
Wow.
people saying, ninth grade, I was like, oh, you're in junior high. And they're like, no, that was high school. I was like,
And
same
what
thing.
and what you said, I know that, but I forgot. Like there was so
Right.
I'm like, oh, I now I remember. Like there was like
Yeah.
that was the common way. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So now when you're getting to junior high, we start becoming a little weird with that age, right? Were, were you starting to figure out who you were, or you're still just kind of flying through it as a little boy?
I was kind of flying through. I mean, if we're gonna like backtrack to everything, my whole thing is I was a gay kid, but I was in the closet. So I think that like that's probably my big thing, if you will. But I think
Right.
when I was a kid though, I was figuring all of that out. I knew all of that, but I wasn't I don't have a I wasn't like an overly depressed kid. I wasn't bullied. I wasn't I have experiences. There were things that happened. There were,
Yeah.
you know, moments that happened, but I didn't have anything traumatic like that happened. But so when it comes to like talking about like finding myself, I had a relatively middle school, it just evolved. It evolved a
Yeah.
little more. I I wasn't a popular kid, but I associated with a lot of the kids that were very well known and then the
Right.
kids that were not well known. I consider myself really kind of in the middle, but because I feel like I had both worlds, but and I don't mean that like in a cocky kind of like, oh, I was so great and blah 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 blah. You know, I don't mean it like that. But I gravitate, and you know what? Also, I didn't gravitate toward like the popular like cool kids like the boys and stuff because
Right.
I was scared. I gravitated toward the girls, the girl and the cheerleaders and the ones that were
Right.
you know
Yeah.
they took me in kind of thing. So that's kind of how middle school evolved. But no, middle school was enjoyable. I had a great time, and yeah I have good memories about middle school.
So some of us went to sports, some of us went to band or choir or whatever. What 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 did you gravitate towards in middle school? Because
For,
now
for
you're picking
girls
and
to talk.
choosing.
I didn't want to play sports.
So not sports.
No, what did I in middle school? I forget what I know I didn't do any extracurricular sport. I didn't do that. I'm trying to think. I did like the regular PE
Right.
and oh, I did golf. But was that my fresh? I played golf as so I played little league as a kid in elementary. I think maybe I did like 2 years of that, and then I did golf in middle school. I think did I start in middle school? I know I did it with my dad on the side, and then I
Right.
think I did it in middle school. Maybe I might be lying, but I know for sure I did golf in high school, my freshman and sophomore year. But
Wow.
I think golf may have started. Man, now you're making me. I want to go back and like look through my stuff.
Look at your stuff.
I think
What
golf may have started in middle school.
what was like I said, if not sports, something else that kind of draws you, because I was in band and I was in sports, but what was aside from school, what drew you?
You know, this might lead more into like my high school stuff. 'Cause I know I did like the what is it called? Was it theater arts? I think it was a
Uh-huh.
theater arts class. I did that. I did newspaper and yearbook. I probably did that I probably did some of that in junior high. The reason I say it leads into high school because I was that kid all not to fast forward, but I was that kid that didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
Looking back, I realized that the things I was doing were building toward what I do now,
Right.
but
And
I
that's
didn't see
gravitating.
right. I never connected it though back then. So that's why right now when you ask that question, I didn't I did all that's why I consider myself that I did so many I try to do so many things. I know for sure I didn't like sports because I wasn't good at that. But when it came to like figuring other stuff out, I was
Yeah.
just kind of I didn't I did some of it. I want when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. I remember that was one of the things I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be
Wow.
an actor. But think about this though, that we didn't have internet.
Right.
I was the internet for me didn't come till I was in high school. So to like, how do you tell your parents who you know your mom's from Mexico, your dad's from South Texas, that they don't know how to get me to Hollywood. You know,
Right.
like
Right. There's only
how do
one
you
way to do it back
right,
then.
right. So that's why. So when you ask me the question about that, I think I just did things that were just kind of that felt right in the moment, and I just kind of did them. And
Yeah.
looking back in retrospect, then I realized how it benefited me. So
Then you were kind of moving that way. Did a little side note, did you hear that Harlingen just won state for theater? They won a
oh,
state competition with a play that they created called Mojado, and apparently it was a phenomenal play. A friend of mine from church, his wife was a judge. She's a theater
ah,
teacher in Austin, and she was a judge, and she said it was phenomenal. So when you said that, I was like, idea
oh,
about it.
thank you. I'm gonna have to look that up and see that because that's really cool. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So you mentioned as a kid, playing outside, riding your bike. Do you remember? the last time you played as a kid? Like carefree, no worries, just playing.
Oh man. Playing, I can't remember the last time I played.
Yeah,
But
just
I do spend a lot of time outdoors, and not outdoor. Not, I'm not like an outdoorsy person,
uh-huh.
but I do spend a lot of time running. I like to run. I'm a runner.
You're a runner.
Yeah. So I would say,
And no one's chasing you?
right,
No.
no one's, no one's. It's all I'm chasing myself in here like a crazy person. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's a man. That's kind of a sad question when you ask it like
It
that. Like, when's the last
is.
time you played? I pride me and my husband do pride ourselves a lot in having a lot of time, what we call it rotting, but it's being at home
Right.
and being just, but it sounds bad, but it's one of the but it's one it's our play, we
Right.
we hang out, we sing karaoke, we're just doing stuff around. It's just like, so I feel like that's like our adult playtime now.
Yeah.
We're obviously not going to go outdoors and kind of that kind of thing and play on a playground, but I feel like that's like our playtime now. So I feel like I am purposeful with that kind of stuff, but I
Let me
have not
ask
gone
you
outside
this.
and
Let
like,
me ask you this because are you an introvert or an outrovert? Although you act like an
oh,
outrovert, but sometimes you need a lot of time to go recharge. So,
you just you let me take a sip first. You describe me to a T. I consider myself an introverted extrovert
yeah,
because I present this. I can do this. I know how to do this. I feel very comfortable. I
right.
know what I'm doing, and I'm not nervous. I'm not. I have good nerves. People always ask me when before I went on air, was I nervous? Every morning I was nervous. You have that energy. I get it, but because I am also much more of an introvert, people don't believe it because I present this.
Yeah,
But I can balance it though. But I need my time to recharge. I can't, whenever I host an event, I MC an event, that drains me.
yeah,
In the best way though, not a bad way. I love to do these events. I love to go and I do these
yeah,
things. But if I know I have an event on a Friday night, I know my Saturday morning, I need some time. So I consider myself an introverted extrovert,
yeah. And
100%.
yeah, and it's people wouldn't believe that when they meet someone like you and they're like, "No way are you an introvert." But I'm married to one, and she's amazing around people, and
Yeah.
she'll say yes to any plan, especially if it's 6 weeks away. But come that day, she's like, "Oh, why did we agree to this?" Because she just
Yeah.
it's a lot of work for her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
so going through high school, do you have a plan? Are you talking to your counselor? Are you there's a road that you're following, or are you just going to school Monday through Friday?
I was, again, a good student going, but I was going to school Monday through Friday. I talked to my counselors. I remember, again, I was a good student, but I could have graduated my junior year in high school, but I
Wow.
didn't. I stayed my senior year. My senior year, my only core class that I had was English. That was the only class I needed to graduate. Again, I could have graduated early, but I look back and I was doing things that were preparing me for this career, but I was the kid that didn't know. I remember my sophomore year, that's when a lot of talks are like, hey, like you have to start knowing what school you want to go to. Because by your junior year, you're already applying this and this, and you're usually your junior year kind of have a better sense, and then your senior year you find out. I was the kid I didn't know. I remember always feeling like everyone's like, oh, I'm going to go to A&M, I'm doing this, I'm going to UT, I'm going to Baylor, blah blah blah. I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was a good student. I still got good grades. I worked. I got a part time job when I was 15 applying I was applying when I was 15 because I wanted a job at 16. So I was a good kid. I had no direction in regards to what I wanted to do. But I
But you wanted to be an
still
actor, right? And that's I guess back
well,
then.
you know what? And that was kind of, yeah, but that was when I talk about what I wanted to do. When you're in high school, think about what are your parents telling you? They're like, I knew you have to find something that's
Right,
gonna, give you health insurance and pay your bills and this
right.
go be a doctor, go be a nurse, go be a firefighter, go be something very I can't even, I don't know what's the word, something very guaranteed. And
Yeah,
I didn't know, I didn't
solid.
want to be a firefighter. I didn't want to be a police officer. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a nurse. I didn't want to do those things. So I knew I liked to write, but I knew I liked to shoot stuff. I knew I was in yearbook, I was in media tech, I was in these things, but I didn't know how. Back then I couldn't convince my parents that these were things that I could make a career out of, because
Right.
my sisters, I remember I'm the youngest and only boy. My sister, my oldest sister, she was in radiology, and then the
You're
other sister
solid.
was very solid. It's medical field. The other sister was a nurse, solid medical field.
Yeah.
The other sister, she was the youngest sister. She helped me because she was the one that majored in advertising PR. So she was the first to go to a 4-year university and do that. And because she did that, my parents were able to see, oh, well, Mija went to Pan Am and she
Right.
did that and this and this. So
That's kind of an
that
abstract career, right? Like,
right, because it doesn't have those, and now we see more of it now, but to old school parents,
right,
that it didn't click.
right.
So when I look back to my high school, I was just doing good in school and doing things that I liked, but I didn't have a clear path. It
Yeah.
didn't look clear until way later. So
Wow. I
yeah.
remember talking with my dad because I went to the Art Institute of Houston, asking
Oh,
him if he would support me, right, financially. My dad and my parents were divorced, and he said, "You don't need to go to art school. Just go work at the newspaper." Like, I was like, "All right, if it was that easy." So
yeah,
that was,
no,
like you said, the
the
old school thinking.
the and when you tell them like, oh, I want to be they just don't know what even to this day.
Yeah,
Love my parents. They know what I do now because I was on Channel 5. But
right.
if you ask my mom and dad right now what I do, they would know Mijo does something with he does something in Houston,
Something in
something
the
in
radio.
media, in the radio, in the something, but they don't know that those skills are what now I'm a PR person. I do public relations, I do media relations, I'm a, so again, but they also don't understand how those skills fit into
Right.
roles. They, a lot of people don't realize every organization has a media organization.
Correct.
Every Costco has a media relations team.
Correct.
Every business that, so you take those skills, and so communications people, if anyone's watching this, you are valued. You're needed, and there's careers in this for you, and there's money in it too. It's not just being a doctor and lawyer.
Just because
It's
you
not.
can't explain it to mom and dad, there's something
Yes,
out there for
yes.
so so I imagine myself and my at the graduation, right? I graduated with 840 something, I believe. We was a big class.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah.
Um, I had zero vision of tomorrow. What were you thinking on your graduation? Like, what does success look like for you? Was that even, or is that again Monday through Friday like me?
I'm gonna, after we're done with this, I'm gonna email you a photo, and I'm gonna or text it to you or something, because I've talked about this before. I gave a speech down there in the valley when I was down there a few years ago, and it's a photo of me with two of my girlfriends, Priscilla and Claudia, and we're in our cap and gowns, and I'm bawling, I'm crying, and I was, oh, I remember I remember having that moment of like, oh, this is it kind of thing. And I was crying. And I tell people this, yeah, we were all crying because we were sad. We're not going to see our friends anymore. Life's beginning, blah, blah, blah. I was so sad. And I was sad because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Wow.
Again, I didn't, I took a year off after high school. That's how lost I was. That's how, and that's why as much as what's funny about doing things like this, I hate talking about myself, but I know how important, I like to tell other people's stories,
Right.
but I really do hate talking about myself. But I know how important it is to share my story, because when people see this and they know, like, oh, so I understand the benefits of it all. But yeah, I was sad because I had no direction. I was so lost. I took a year. That's also a big reason why I retreated. I cut everyone off. I didn't, mind you, I was also in the closet. So I had that going on too. So I was a very kind of just, I wanted to
2003, that was
just,
still very,
oh,
very, yeah.
yeah, different time. I wasn't ready to, even though I know people know I was gay. I'm not stupid. Like, I'm not gonna be like, I mean, there were signs, there were signs,
Right.
but it wasn't. Yeah, I was just a very, but when I say also that I was very lost and very just kind of whatever, I wasn't. It was it was dark, but it wasn't dark. It was just, I was just kind of like stuck.
Yeah.
And then when things kind of fell into place, then things started to fall into place later on. But high school, that graduation night, I was so scared and just so like, what am I gonna do?
So
And
you
that's
don't you
yeah.
don't have a picture of success or anything like that. You're just
No,
like, I have no idea.
no. I took a year off. I worked at there was a clinic in Treasure Hills. My sister was doing radiology there. The
Uh-huh.
sister with the good job because me, I went to radiology. So she got me a, she got me a job there doing medical records in the summer. I did
Okay.
that. And then I knew I had to go to school. So then I started taking like my basic courses. I think I enrolled in a TSTC. No, I might have done T. No, I didn't do that. You know what I did? I moved. I moved. At 19 years old, I moved to Houston with my sister up here, but I still knew I had to do school. So I came up here to go to community college up here.
Okay.
Up here is when I realized, okay, I need to go back home and get myself together because I did okay in school, but I was also 19 years old, hanging out with people, doing things I shouldn't be doing, and just getting in, living in Houston. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Went back home, and that's when I kind of, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but
No,
that's
no,
when I
no.
went back home
I was gonna
and
say
kind
because
of,
that's a slippery slope, right? I
yeah,
get nervous with the gap year because a gap year is good if you do a gap year, but if you go get a pretty okay job, that then you can
yeah,
get your own apartment and your own. Now school becomes because now you got to pay for your apartment and your car and all that. So that's
yeah,
the slippery slope of a gap year, right? Because
yeah.
it can shut you down, and 15 years later, you're still the manager, and nothing wrong with that, but you're still the manager of whatever, right?
You know what's funny though, about what you're talking about though? That's so true. That's also what our parents told us. And so we grew up with that mentality. And what you're just saying right now won't resonate with a younger student now
Right.
because now we're seeing you can do a lot more with
Social media.
there's kids on YouTube right now that
Yeah.
are making millions or thousands, and so yes, there's something to that. Back then, it was different. We didn't
Yeah.
have this connectivity that we have now, and this opportunity of what we're doing now.
What is in your so now you're in your 20s. What is one of the biggest risks that you took in your 20s?
Oh, coming out of the closet. That
Wow.
was probably yeah, uh, yeah, because I had just finished. I was finishing college. I was finishing college at UTPA, and that was yeah, that was probably the thing I had to do to like kind of after that. I feel like that's when like not that life changed, but I mean because I did it so late. I was 20 because of my gap year and because of kind of how I did school and I took a little time here and there. I was 25 when I was graduating from UTPA, and I came out and I graduated school. Coming out wasn't it was it was bad, but it wasn't bad. It was I grew up in a religious household. My family was Baptist. I grew up very, kind of traditional, if you will, but it wasn't like in a hateful kind of way. It wasn't like it wasn't it was just kind of I understood that they had like my family had their beliefs, and it was kind of a weird thing to yeah, not this is gonna take sorry to like take a little left turn here,
No,
kind of
no,
where we're
no.
going with
That's
this.
that's fine.
But yeah, that was kind of that was probably the biggest thing I did in my 20s. But all of that to summarize it and not get so like off path here, but that was the biggest thing I did. It all ended up working out, thankfully. And but that was probably the biggest, most impactful thing I had to do. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that also springboarded you into then being able to be as like being on TV and all, like there's no fear. Like I've done something pretty tough here.
Yeah, yes and no. Uh I did TV, but even when I was on TV, I still made my voice sound a little
Uh-huh.
deeper, make sure I was very careful. I have a very vivid memory of when I said my husband. I remember saying it on air here in Houston. It was 2018. And I remember saying it and thinking, there. I said, even though I was already out of the closet, I was already living my life. I was with I was already very comfortable. but there was still something about being that comfortable and that open and that especially, and also because this is my work.
Right.
So then you think what's the fallout of this, of me saying something like that? Then what happens if someone complains? And then what happens if my work takes their side, even though that would be against the law? But then
Right.
we live in this crazy world now where so there's a lot of just, so you kind of struggle with kind of where you want to land with that. And yeah, so yeah.
What kind of boundaries did they give you when you were, well, I think I jumped pretty far ahead. We'll come back to that. I was going to say,
Yeah, yeah.
I always wondered, like, when you guys do the banter and stuff, if there's boundaries that they say, make sure don't cross these lines, right?
There's no lines. Everything's, when you work somewhere, you represent the company, whether you're
Right.
on air or not.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
that's just what you kind of, that's the mentality you have to go on air with. So I'm
Hmm.
representing the station. So anything I say, there's no boundary. You just have to know you're at work. So so there's no boundary of that. So but when it comes to something in regards to your personal life, that's up to you how much you
Right.
want to share,
Wow.
what you want to kind of do. But I mean, there's no boundary. The only boundary is time, because it's a show, it's a time show. So
Right.
when the talking is going on, they're like, hey, make it short, make it this, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's no real restrictions about that. Maybe in bigger markets, maybe somewhere like in New York, if you're on the network, yes, they have more say on how you look. Maybe they can tell, they smaller markets too, they can tell you, hey, cut your hair, hey, this and this.
Right.
Very simple stuff. I mean, they can do. If they wanted me to grow my hair out, they could have asked me. They could have. I could have said no, and they could, okay, we're not going to hire you. So
Right.
there are things that kind of, that there's a balance, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the, the hard thing about, when you work for somebody, and it's a hard, especially today, right? Because everybody's so
Mm.
open on social media and stuff like that. And then you go to a company and and you're like, wait, what about, I want to bet you're still representing the company.
Well,
Uh,
you know what? To piggyback off of that, though, think about this, because your viewers will appreciate this. Channel 5.
yes,
Everyone knows Channel 5.
yes,
Everyone, we all grew up. So my first time at Channel 5. So think about like Letty and Oscar and the legacy anchors that worked at Channel 5 many years ago.
right,
They worked at Channel 5 not having social media. So
correct.
we all saw them on TV,
Hmm.
and then that was it.
Yeah,
We live in this world now. TV is so much different now. We're back. So now we have to present something on air, but now we also have viewers that are following us over here.
correct.
So I no longer have, no, TV people no longer have the ability to let me put on my anchor voice over
Right,
here
right.
and then put on my something.
Yeah,
No, no, those worlds are together now.
yeah,
And it took a while for companies to kind of get there and realize, but that's why for a while, when social media became a big thing, companies were hiring people like, oh, you have to make a social media account with the station, like with the station. You can't have your personal one. Now they're letting them people have their personal, because they realize the value of bringing those audiences, and it's the same world now. We don't have that separation anymore.
correct.
So
There's a radio station here in Austin, or there was. No, it's still there. It's just different DJs. But they brought in a girl that was social media person. She didn't study broadcasting or anything like
mhm.
that, but she was pretty popular. And there was two
An
guys,
influencer.
influencer. Yeah, there was two
Yeah,
guys. So they're like, we need a girl's voice, and let's bring this girl there. And actually, she turned out to be really good. She was a good radio, but at first everybody's like, because you can tell she was like me, right? Didn't know what she was doing, and uh, but I mean, it grew into it. But now that plays a big role, right? Like how many
yeah,
followers you have and all that stuff, which is the
yeah.
personal brand. I help companies with their brand. I'm a branding specialist, so
Mm, yeah.
helping companies with that, and I've helped some people that start a brand. I don't know how to create a multi-million follower channel, but I know how to get you that your messaging and all that is on point.
How to focus it, because sometimes they feel very kind
Yes,
of, what do I
everywhere.
do, and they just
Yep,
need a kind of a, yeah,
how
yeah.
to focus it. Here's a heavy question, Trey. And
Oh,
I love your name. My son's name is Trey. So, are you the third?
Yes, I was going to correct you and say yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah. So actually, what's funny? So this podcast is about being a Cardinal. So when I was a Cardinal, I was Henado.
Genaro.
So Henado, yeah, Henado Serna the third, but I go by Trey.
There go by Trace. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
well, he's actually my nephew. My brother passed, and he came to live with us, and I call him my son. But he he's the third, right? Rogelio Tres, actually, and I think my brother named them Rogelio Tres Salceda. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, my brother, he don't follow any rules. So
Yeah. You know what's funny is that also I go like going back to the story I was saying earlier about kind of how I was kind of this like lost kid. I didn't start going by Trey until I left high school. So I left high school. I moved away. That first little stint in Houston
yeah,
was me just kind of like I'm gonna try something new. Like let me just
yeah,
try Trey. And kind of try something. Just whatever. And and it stuck. It stuck, and
that's
that's
so
kind of
good. Art, so we're
yeah.
pretty parallel. My
Uh,
in school, I was Buck. Everybody knew me
okay.
as Buck, and I mean that's my middle name, and everyone, and even today, if I meet somebody, I know when I met you, because
Yeah.
I turned when I went to Houston to go to art school. I wanted my Mexican name Gilberto, so I
Yeah.
wanted to be Gilberto because that sounds like a pretty good artist, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
very first guy I met, he asked me for my name, and I told him, and he goes, "Oh, how do you spell that?" Right? And I told him. He goes, "Oh, Gilbert." So never call me Gilberto. He went from Gilberto to the very first guy, Gilbert. And then he said, "Hey, this is Gilbert." And like, so then I was never Gilberto.
But you kept it. I mean,
I kept it now, yeah. And
that's funny.
a while back, my wife was in this women's group, and they were telling their life story. And my wife was married prior to me, and she was telling, this part of her story. And then I met Buck, and we did this, and then we got married, and yada yada yada, and finished her story, right? And one lady raises her hand. She goes, "When did you marry Gilbert?" And she goes, "Oh, Buck is Gilbert."
That's funny.
So that,
That yeah. But I like what you said though about knowing when you met people how
yeah,
based on what they call you, and that's exactly how mine is also. And what's also now as an adult though, like now that I'm 40. How old am I? 42. I'm 42. I wish I would have kept Hinado. Like now I'm not,
mm,
now that I'm more me and I'm
right,
more myself and I feel very comfortable in my skin. Back then I was again still coming out. I was still figuring stuff out. I wanted something different. I didn't like that when I was trying to get on air. I didn't like when people couldn't pronounce my name.
right,
It always embarrassed me when I would like,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
very embarrassing. So I always wanted something that was just easy, that sounded whatever. And then I remember also making myself, and this sounds horrible, but I remember also not even saying Serna. I used to say, Trey Serna, and
Sarah,
then trying
yeah,
to sound just more
yeah.
Americanized and just more like, just trying to. So now that ship has sailed, yes, I'm Trey Serna now, but I
Trey
really wish I
Serna,
could.
yeah.
I am Renato Serna. I
I
mean,
My friends
so
make fun of me because if I'm speaking to you and I'm speaking to you in English, and then there's a Spanish word, I say it in Spanish.
yeah.
And they'll start like, why do you say tortilla? Tortilla. I was like, I say that's the way you say it, it's tortilla, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, here's the honest truth behind it. I'd rather you make fun of me than my family to get it. Me start saying it tortilla or
Uh,
whatever.
can you speak Spanish?
I I Tex-Mex. I speak Tex-Mex.
So see, so maybe you'll relate to this. As the youngest, I was so again they picked on me because they spoke my mom spoke to us in Spanish, and she was from Mexico. We taught her English going to school, and
Right.
we would respond in English, and that's how that happened. But my sisters picked up on the Spanish, so they all spoke a little bit of Spanish. I was the only one that, as I started to pick up on it, they would make fun of me. So why would I speak it if they're going to
Yeah.
make fun of me? So I
Um,
never spoke it, and now I'm not
cheers.
bilingual, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's why I'm Trey Serna. Leave me alone. It's all your fault.
My mom would get mad at us, but she spoke to us in English. She didn't want us to struggle. My mom's from
Yeah.
Mexico, so she didn't want us. She wanted us to know English, so she spoke to us in English. And then, now we're in high school, and she's mad at us because we can't speak. I like, you didn't teach us. I mean, we heard her speaking it. We just like it was always English around the house, so that's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
that is funny.
So, do you remember this? I love this question. When you grew up. There's a moment in your life where you can't call mom, can't call dad. This one's on Trey Serna.
Oh, that's I don't know. I don't that, oh man. Because I feel like my mom and dad, I feel like my family is very will come
Yeah.
when we need help kind of thing. Uh Honestly, I it was probably more of a health issue. I had a stroke, a mini stroke.
Oh
And
wow.
I think that was and that was in my 30s too. So that was kind of I think that felt more of a not just mom and dad can't help, it was just no one could help.
Yeah.
It was very,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would say that probably had more of an impactful moment as opposed to anything in life. Because I feel like regardless, even right now, if I lost my home, my mom and dad, we would have moved right in with them right away. Like, there's no question about those kind of things. We're
Right.
all very supportive like that with each other. So I would say that probably was more of a moment.
But it's on you, right? And I mean, there's I
Yeah.
think it's a pretty pivotal part in our life. I would say also when you coming out, that's you've got to
Yeah.
come out, and that's uh, but it you go, okay, this one's on me, and I love that question because it's such a heavy one, but
Yeah.
it you can stamp it as this is a moment that I grew up, right?
Yeah.
Um, is there any books that you read that made a major impact in your life and maybe even guided you to the success you are today?
I wish, oh man. No, not off the top of my head, no. I was not. So what's funny? I'm not a big novel person. I read a lot, but I
Yeah,
don't. I can't. I'm not a fan fiction kind of person. I don't. I've never have.
same here.
Yeah. I was more of a movie person. I was a movie kid.
Yeah,
I was a movie kid, and what's interesting about that also is I also tell people I was a movie kid, but I'm not. Uh, it was only certain movies. Like so I can't explain so like I as a kid I grew up and I loved Jaws, and then I would obsess over Jaws, and that was like my movie growing up. And then The Bodyguard came out, and I loved Whitney Houston, so then I loved that. I loved 80s 90s horror kind of thing, but I was very inspired by that kind of storytelling and that kind of uh yeah, I was more of a video kid because I remember I used to also play with my dad's camera
yeah.
and do I oh man, you made me have a memory. You made me have a memory right now. So as a kid, I used to play with my dad's camera, and I used to love it was the big camcorder, the big one.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm going like this. It was the big one with the you put the big
Yep.
VHS tape in there and you record. And I used to put it on the counter and I used to push record and I used to put a cup and then I would pause and I would take the cup away and then I would push record again and then I would go and put that in the VCR and be like, look, I made the cup disappear. Like that's literally what I would do. See, that's the kind of weird shit I would do as a sorry, because that was the
It's
weird
okay.
stuff that I would do as a kid that made me feel super like I that was my inspiration. That was me kind of getting lost and kind of seeing those kind of things. I was very and so the memory I was having, that's why when TikTok came out in 2020, when I downloaded TikTok, I loved it because I was able for the first time to do all the things that I wanted to do, but it was all in my hands. I
Yeah.
could record myself, I could edit it, I could do all these things. And I was like, oh my, it was like being a kid again, but being able to like make so that's why I think that's another reason why I think I gravitated toward what I do now. Just even I tell people also I make content for as a personal thing also, just because I enjoy making content.
Making content. Yeah.
I enjoy making stories.
Yeah.
I enjoy being able to tell stories when I hear people talk to me and I hear the story and I like to rewrite it in my head.
Right.
Like, and sometimes my husband will tell me a story. I'm like, oh, you know how you could have told that story faster? And I don't mean that as an insult. It
As
sounds like I'm being
storyteller.
mean,
As a
but I'm like,
storyteller.
oh, I was like, you could have said this first, and that hooks you first, and then you do it, and then I get crazy, and then I'm like, oh, see, this is if you were doing a blog or you were doing a video, you could do this, and so that's where my mind goes. So
You
that's
need the hook.
sorry that I went, yeah, I got very so
I
a
have
book.
I
I
have
didn't
a
read a
friend of
book.
mine that every time we're talking, he goes, "Ooh, that's a scene in the movie. Ooh,
Mhm.
that's a scene."
Yes, 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 yes. I can totally relate to that. I can totally. That's how I visualize things. That's how I like to. Yeah.
Yeah, I read actually one of the. I'm glad you were saying that because one of my books, my top five favorite books is Rebel Without a Crew, which is the Robert Rodriguez story of when he made the movie El Mariachi, and
Oh,
he made it for $7,000, and how he raised that $7,000 and how he shot the movie. Uh, if you've ever seen the movie, I mean, it's a low budget movie, but it made him, it got him Dust to Dawn. Dust Till Dawn came because of a mariachi, and it's
I didn't
just a
know
great
that.
story. It's one of my favorite books. And at the end of the book, he says, "You want to be a filmmaker? Go make a movie. Stop, making excuses that I didn't go to film school. I didn't do that. Get your,
Especially now,
especially
these
now,
days, there's no excuse. I mean,
yeah."
yeah,
Get your recorder and just make a movie, right? He said, get a business
yeah,
card, put your name and say filmmaker, and go make a movie. There you go. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
his webinar. Um, so Trey, we have experienced some pretty significant events in our lives. 9/11, the tower, I mean the coming down of the wall in Germany, the shuttle explosions, all that. Everybody knows where they were when John F. Kennedy got shot. Everybody knows when Elvis died. Is there an event in your life that you can go, I can tell you where I was, what I was doing, what I was eating?
Yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to like a natural disaster, it's man, there's quite a few. I'm
We,
thinking, it's funny, but so I think 9/11 for me, for my generation, I was born 1983. I think my generation is 9/11. I remember being in school. I remember I was a sophomore. I remember walking out of my I was walking out of my yearbook class. I walked out of my yearbook class to go to my car to get my cell phone. Back then, cell phones weren't common. So we had to keep them in the car. I had the Nokia. It was a Nokia.
yeah,
The black
the
one that
razor.
everyone that the no no it was a thicker one.
Oh,
It was this is 2001. And I remember going out there because we were trying to call my sister. She was a flight attendant for American Airlines.
oh
So we were
wow.
very worried. This is also back in, so we had no, so for a while, we didn't know where she was because back then there was not social media. We didn't have any way to just check in quickly, so we were without that. So that's probably a moment I remember where I was. The other kind of moments like that, I mean, Harvey, I was up here during Hurricane Harvey. I remember where we were, where that struck. I remember where I was with the Santa Fe shooting, the school shooting, because I was up here working and unfortunately saw, how that broke out. So unfortunately, yeah, when you say that, I remember where I was when the Orlando nightclub shooting happened. That was in Orlando, but I remember that because that was such a big thing for the gay community. And
Right.
I remember the next day at work, my coworker, uh, not the next day, it was a few days later. His wife had made some cupcakes for some fundraiser or whatever, and he came and brought them to me, kind of saying like, "Hey, just like I want you to know that like we're thinking of you." Like it was a very kind of like sweet
Yeah,
moment, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So like, there's been a lot of unfortunately now that I'm thinking, like, and then COVID. I mean, hello.
yeah,
I remember where I was when we got the news that we were going to shut down. Remember when all that happened? I mean, so we've had a, a lot
yeah.
of
No,
messed
that's
up
it. And
times.
they're pivotal, right? Because in marketing, I was I run a marketing firm, and I had to help several of my clients pivot during COVID, right? Because they were losing money.
Yeah,
There was one of my restaurant, little Mexican restaurant, and he's from the Valley, so we became friends because he cooks like the Valley, right? There's a difference. So his food is Valley food, right? So I love it. And I would go to his restaurant. This is right when it was starting to go up, and they're talking about it. And this guy, like, he's a rebel. He's like, they're gonna want us to. I'm not shutting down. It's like he's fighting it. And then I go one morning for coffee, and all his chairs are up. He goes, "We're only doing to go." He goes, "You can't sit down." And that's when I was like, "Oh, this is real.
yeah,
This is for." Because I would joke about it too. I was like, "Come on, come on," type thing. And I'm not around a lot of people because I work for myself in my studio. So just the few people that I touch bases with, I was like, "This can't be real." But when I went, and his restaurant was not boarded up, but you could walk, and he would you're at the door. He would wave you in when it was your turn. So it was like,
yeah, yeah,
okay, this is
yeah.
real. Like this is, and then we had to pivot to try to get people because people were scared, right? Got to come out. and spend some money because that was a okay, man. This is good, Trey. I'm loving your number one. Your energy is awesome. What would you say is a big professional or personal milestone in your life since graduation?
Oh, definitely. The job at Channel Five. So the job at Channel Five happened. Funny. Actually, this is a perfect segue into it. It was COVID. Uh, so Channel Five happened for me after graduation. Oh man, I'm trying. So the biggest thing was getting the anchor job at Channel Five. But to tell you how I got that, I have to like backtrack. I have to backtrack. So
Sure.
in college, I graduated. I got an internship at a website company, MPC Studios in Harlingen. I got laid off from them, and I was at the gym, and I ran into Will Ripley. Valley will know who Will Ripley is. He was
Mhm.
the reporter and anchor at Channel Five. He told me Channel Five's hiring. You should come apply. I applied. I got the job there as a producer. So from 2008 to 2010, I was a producer at Channel Five. And then 2010, I moved to Houston, produced here in Houston. And then in Houston is where I got on air. It's when I left TV news, and then I did some school stuff and I did other kind of media stuff. And then I was still doing school stuff. And then in 2018, I got a call to go back to TV news from a former news director. And he was like, hey, I got this gig. Come be my senior producer, and you can co-anchor the show as well. And that was an on-air opportunity. So I took that opportunity, and that opened up many more doors because I was on air in Houston. That was 2018. COVID comes 2020. A lot happened, and then a lot happened with the company. I left, and I was like, you know what? I left. There was a lot of safety concerns because of COVID. So it was June 2020. I left, and for a year, mind you, I left thinking it's COVID. This is a few weeks. Remember, we thought it was going to
Right,
pass.
right.
It didn't
Just three
pass.
weeks. 3 weeks.
Right. It's just gonna, yeah, yeah. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna, well, a month turned into two, two, three. I was unemployed for a year, but we
Wow.
were both my husband and I were both at home. His company was complete 100% remote, and we just stayed here a year. During that year, May 2021, so a year later, almost a year later, I saw the job posting at Channel 5 for the morning anchor position. And I told my husband as a joke, I was like, hey, I should apply. Like it's Channel 5, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and I can go see my mom and dad. Like I haven't seen them. It was a year, remember, because COVID. So we were
Right.
quarantined. We hadn't seen family. And I was like, oh, I can go and like, imagine. I go, it'll give us an excuse to go visit. Like you can go visit. Like we can make it work. We can do it. It'll be for 2 to 3 years. It's a contract. I'll go down there for a little bit. I shot the guy an email, the news director. He replied back within like 2 or 3 days,
Wow.
and quickly set up an interview for me, and it all just happened. So that for me, that was a cool moment because it was I applied for the job knowing that what Channel 5 is for the Valley. And
Right.
if I could go and be the morning anchor and be the
Right.
face of the morning news, I knew what a big deal it was going to be, and what that. So even though it's a smaller market than Houston, I was going to be the morning news anchor, the face of the morning Valley news, and I knew what it was. I knew what
Right.
an opportunity, what it meant, and that was probably the coolest thing, because also what I got to experience was also going back home as an adult. A lot of people don't get that opportunity
Right.
to go away, start your life, and then I
Come
went
back.
back. And then not only back, and like, I not because some people go away and then they come back and then they move back and they stay back home. No, I was just there to kind of see. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I also struggle talking about this time of my life because it was COVID, and
Right.
people, like, COVID was so serious and so different for so many people. But COVID, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. It just opened up a lot of doors, like, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it was a good time. Like it was a good time, but it was so dark for like so many other people. So I feel like horrible that I got to like experience like all of these, like, man, like I got to experience these really cool things. I got to go home with my mom and dad
Right.
and see them again. So
Well, that's
yeah,
well,
damn, you
that.
got me.
I,
Yeah, like,
I see you're
yeah.
prepared with your handkerchief there.
Uh, you know what? No, this is for my sweat, because I, I
I
have a
was going to tell
shiny
you,
head.
I meant to.
Yes.
I have this because I
Ah,
wanted to show you. I have a.
man, you got me.
I have an icebreaker when I go meet clients. I always
Yeah.
pull out, this is my glass cleaner. See if you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it's an underwear. It's but
Wait,
it
oh, because I saw I
yeah,
saw the strip and I was like,
it's
what is that?
it's a company makes these glass
Yeah.
cleaners, but this one's shaped like a dirty underwear. So I pull it out during a meeting,
That's funny.
and I can tell if there's 3 or 4 people at the table. One guy's looking at me. It's like, does this
Ah.
guy have? And then finally somebody will say something, and we start laughing, and it's like it breaks the tension. So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
I've bridged that gap, because in sales, right, people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so if I
Definitely,
can break that
definitely.
tension with my underwear,
Oh man, that's funny. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for bringing out the underwear because it made me laugh now, and I'm
it
not
made you
crying
laugh. There you
anymore. But
go.
yeah, but no, yeah, that definitely and now that I've let out that emotion, now I can like say it more clearly. But that it's definitely a hard time to talk about that success
Yeah,
because that success came with something so heavy, and that's just like it feels. I feel bad thinking about it. I feel
yeah,
bad about it. But I also I met people. I my co-anchor, I love her. Like I got to meet friends down there and I got to like do these things that and but it weighs on me in a very, very strange and then also it weighs on me because then I moved back to Houston and my life wasn't the same because I left during a pandemic. I left when the
right.
world was shut down. So even though I was back and forth from the valley to here, I was only visiting here and then I would go back and I was, I didn't I came back to a completely different world. And that
Right.
was also very different and very not hard to process because that sounds so like I was struggling, but it was just a lot to it was a lot to process, I
Yeah,
guess. I
that is,
guess.
and it sounds like you're a very tender heart, like my wife. She always looks at
Yeah.
everything around her. Like, I remember at my dad's funeral, the procession. We're going from the funeral home to the cemetery,
Yeah.
and we're driving by, and life continues. And I'm in my mind, right? Like, don't you know my dad's in this car behind me, and people are at La Plaza, La Placita. They're at La
Yeah.
Placita just having fun, and then in and out of 7-Eleven with a Slurpee, and I'm like, my dad's in the hearse, and but that's it's a great reminder that life continues. It's
Yeah.
although at the time it kind of seems tough, like they seem like, but they don't know, but it's life continues, and it's a beautiful story that your life changed for the better during these hard times,
Yeah.
uh, which is cool. It's a bittersweet type thing.
Yeah. No, definitely,
Um,
definitely.
and how was it being an on-air person? Because before that, you were doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, right? Sounds like.
Mhm.
So nobody knew you were from KRGV to Channel 5 because you were
Yeah.
doing
Well,
all behind the scenes. How was it then to now be in front of the camera?
well, being behind the scenes, because I was behind the scenes from 2010 to 2015. And if you think about those years, it was different because we had social media, but it was still different. It
Yeah,
wasn't it wasn't video. So, we had like MySpace, we had
yeah,
things. So it was, you could create content, but content creators weren't really a thing. And if you were, maybe you did on YouTube or you did other kind of
yeah.
platforms because YouTube was also different. So when I got on air in Houston. And then I did social media, obviously, as it came about. I got big on social media during the pandemic. So I didn't download TikTok until July 2020. I remember when I downloaded it. And it was right after I had quit working at CW. I vividly remember. And that's when I started making online content and that blew up. And then I became known for that kind of stuff because I was off for a year. But then, so when I went to the Valley, it was interesting being recognized for the morning news. But some people, would, believe it or not, would stop me at HEB because they knew me from TikTok,
Oh,
which
wow.
is which was very strange. And I remember a lady at the Harlingen HEB. I was pulled in for curbside. And I had my window rolled down, and she pulls up next to me, and we're there. We kind of see each other, and we're just there. And then she rolls down her window, and I can see the window roll down. She's like, "Sir," she kind of waves me down. She's like, and she said, she's like, you're the guy from, and said something about my TikTok. And I was like, what? I thought she was going to say, oh, you're the person from Channel 5. And that wasn't the case. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting kind of, we live in a different world now to
Yeah.
where people knew me because of that, as opposed to this. Now people know me kind of, when I go back home, people know me from both because I was there for 3 years. So
Correct.
as I got more well known, that was cool. I mean, it was very flattering. People were very complimentary. People love Channel 5. Like I
Yeah.
said, people like the station. The station has such a great reputation that it was a beautiful experience in the community, and I always appreciated that people would come up and talk to me and say hello, and I never, as much as of an introverted person as we talked about being,
Right.
I still appreciated it, and I was never, like, oh my god, blah blah blah. Like, no, this is
Yeah.
great. This is it's wonderful. Like, it was a cool experience, very very cool experience.
Very cool. And were you, when you were doing your TikTok, were you doing it as an outlet, or did you have a plan to become an influencer?
No, 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 no. So remember, going back to like when I told you that when I downloaded the app, I loved it because it was like, oh, I can do these things like the way I was a kid. I was like, oh, I could like do these funny
Hmm.
videos. I just did it because my coworkers had downloaded it, and I re- they had downloaded it, and I remember I was finished. This was June 2020. They had downloaded it. They were at work doing stuff. I didn't have it yet. I stopped working there, and I remember thinking, oh, they were doing that stuff. Let me download it. So I downloaded it with no intention. I was like, oh, this is cool. I What people don't think about now, TikTok was also way different in 2020.
Right.
It was a different platform. The viralness was very different. So the concept of putting the video out and it going viral was very foreign to
Hmm.
me. I didn't know that. I was just making content for fun. A video of mine went viral, and when that one went viral, that's when people started reaching out to me. We're like, hey, we want to do this and this, and I was like, oh, what is this? I was like, what? That's when this is pandemic. Also, it's just,
Right.
so this
Right.
height of pandemic 2020. I was like, oh, I can make money doing this. So that's when I started doing again. That year at home when I wasn't working, that's when I started doing little partnerships here and there and making a little bit of money. It wasn't anything big or whatever, but I started dabbling in that world.
Right.
I knew I wanted to go back and work full time in TV, which is what I ended up doing. So then my social media evolved. And to me, just like I said, I enjoy making content, and
Right.
I do a lot of like throwbacks. I'm a big Britney Spears fan, and I do a lot of Britney throwbacks and a lot of like stuff about her career that I just like was obsessed with.
Yeah. I saw
And
those on your YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, and I like that. I like that. That's the kind of content. Like I make content now to just for myself. I monetize off of it because I built a platform. So now I get residual kind of money, but it's not
Correct.
like I'm not like getting, I'm not paying all the bills kind of thing. Could I could probably dive into it more, but because I do what I do and I have, I have other duties and stuff, I don't focus on it full time. But when I was focusing on it full time, I did monetize from it and did find some, which again goes back to like I told you, these days if you really focus on it, you
Right.
can
Yeah.
it can open up a
And
lot
it
of
and
doors.
it's work. It's not, people say,
Right,
well, he just does YouTube. There's a
right,
lot of work that goes behind it. I
right,
was going to ask you,
right.
with your producer's experience, when you make your content, do you sit down and put the plan together, how to get the hook and all that stuff? Or do you just turn on the phone and shoot?
So what's funny about the stuff that you told me that you saw on YouTube, that was
Uh-huh.
more me sitting down. It was me kind of sitting down right
Right.
here. Actually, right here. This is my setup. I think my desk was over here, and it was me talking and being more produced. That takes more work, and that I would plan out a little more, make sure I have my talking points, make sure I have like my visuals, what I want, kind of, and I would think of it through. I realized because I worked in TV, I have a very not old school mentality, but I have traditional TV works a certain kind of way. And we have this ability to make the content so much easier and faster that I was making it harder on myself. So
Right.
if you look at my latest video that I just did recently about I did a one about Britney and J Lo recently, and it's just me talking to the phone, and I found some clips, and so so my process is it's different. If there's a video that I want to make a certain kind of point on, I do prepare for it more. Then there's others that I do nothing and I just talk to the phone and I do a quick here and I add a little photo here and then I upload it and it goes viral.
Uh,
Okay, I don't
yeah.
know. You know what?
Yeah.
So because it's so hard to gain the metric of what's going to go viral, what's not. I'm in this new phase of my life right now in regards to content where I'm not going to put a lot of effort into it. And when I say that, like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here with my ring light
Right.
and produce all of this. I know I want to talk about Britney. I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to just quickly do what I do and just kind of
Right. You're not
and
worried
and
about
I
the hook. You're not worried about the all that stuff. You're just giving content.
well, I still worry about the hook though, because I do think about what I'm gonna say
Right.
because I do like right now there's a video so I did I made a video. I don't know if you know anything about hip hop culture, but JLo recently announced that she was supposed to be the one to be on the MTV VMAs kissing Madonna, this big performance that Britney did.
Uh-huh.
So I have a video that I made. It went viral right now recently. It's getting a lot of traction. People are commenting, and I see the comments. I'm like, oh, I have a follow up. So right now, I have the follow up in my head.
Right.
It's written. I can spit it out right now. I can start talking about it. But I talk. I go through it, and I'm like, what's the what am I going to say the second I turn on the camera that'll instantly hook someone?
Right.
So I do think about it. It's not completely off the cuff, but I do enjoy doing things. So once I think about it, then I'll I'll push record, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I
Right.
like that approach because that approach is the most authentic, it's the most relatable. And I do find that people do gravitate toward content that where we're just talking, which is also the struggle with local news and why people say local news is dying, because people don't like people talking like this.
It's
And hi,
very, yeah.
we
And
want to
we're
just,
our audience is becoming, and I say audience because I'm in marketing, right? They're
yes,
becoming so smart to can stuff. Like, if you're not authentic, it's a it's a scroll, right? How do you become
excuse
very
me.
authentic? How do you become very
Yes.
real is the secret. And uh, when you ask me for the questions, I'll say I'll give you some of them, but I didn't know you at the time. I said I didn't know if you're going to write an answer for each one.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've done this where I go interview a CEO of a very successful company, and I need the questions, right? I don't want to be surprised, so I'll send him the questions, but he's trying to memorize what he said,
Yeah.
and I'll ask him, and I'm making his company look good, so I'm not asking him any hardball questions that's going to make him worry, right? And
Right.
so I'll ask him a question, about the business, and he's just going like, "What did I write? What did I write? What?" And then he'll try to read it out, and it doesn't come out. So yeah, so that's why I love just conversation. Even when I film, actually, my best answers for corporate videos
Yeah.
come from my last question that I say, "Is there something I didn't ask you that you wish I asked you?" And then they'll say, "Oh yeah, my father started," and then they tell me all this stuff. And then from there, I pull out two or three questions from there. And
Yeah.
after an hour interview, that's all I use because that's
Yeah.
like the best gold stuff that I have, which is
Yeah.
it's a pretty good strategy on my end.
I'm smiling so much because you're describing. So right now I do public relations and media work for Houston ISD,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of stories that I do. I go to campuses and I talk to teachers and talk to students, and but to your point though, a lot of times when I'm going to do talk to a teacher, they want to know the questions in
Right.
advance, and then they start thinking about the answer. And here's the thing also, I'm not media. They in their head they're like, media's coming. I'm with the district. I'm
Right.
not like we're here to make a good video. Like I'm not gonna have a gotcha kind of question. So what I do, I when they're like, can I have the questions? I reply back here. I give them three questions and
Right.
I let them know, hey, here's three questions to kind of kick us off. I may have a few more here or there, kind of, but I want to go with the conversation, blah, blah, I'll see you then. And then when
Right.
I get there, I this is why, going back to the introverted extrovert thing, this is why this is so exhausting to me, because when I get there, I have to pump myself up to
Right.
that when I can see someone in their face when they have that look in their face, and you know what it is when they're
Yeah.
just like, you can tell they're rehearsing, you can tell they're already. I I shoot the shit with them. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
let's just talk, like, and
Bring your
I
underwear,
don't.
man. Bring your
Yes, yes, yes. And I just change the subject. I just talk about something and blah blah blah. Like I'll talk about Wicked. I'm like, hey, blah blah. Have you seen Wicked? And then it leads into conversation. And
right.
then as we're setting stuff up and setting the mics and we're having this conversation, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'll give them that first question that I told them
Right.
because they feel comfortable. But then as they give me that answer, when I hear something, then it's a conversation. Then I'm like, oh, then I ask a little question here and there. Then I interject more questions. And by the time they know it, we're having a conversation and they've given me everything I need and
That's
I'm
so good.
done. And
That's
I'm
so
done. Like
good.
that's you have to trick them. You have to
Yeah.
trick people and you have to
Yeah.
do that dance.
I
And
just
it's
tell I
so
tell
exhausting.
my video guys, just keep the camera running. I said, and let them for don't say start because they get
So
nervous. So just keep it running.
yes,
I
yes.
did a I haven't edited just because I can't. Uh,
Yeah.
I did a documentary on my mom, and I have about 8 videos. This is a high 8 millimeter videotapes of her, and and my mom's not a video person, right? So like, mom, just talk to me, just talk. But she would just stare at that red light on the camera, like, mom, don't talk to me, like, and then uh, we struggled with it for about 30 minutes to an hour because I could tell she was like looking at the camera and wanting to speak English, Spanish. I said, mom, just speak to me in Spanish. I said,
Just talk to me.
I'll edit
Yeah.
it. I'll edit it out. And I, I, I finally made her understand. I said, mom, this isn't for me. This isn't for Ron. This is for Ron's grandkids. They're the ones that are going to see this and go, oh, that's my abuela, right? And she's like, that snapped. And after that, and my mom's a hand talker. And
Yeah.
she's like, the hands took off and she just
Aw.
started spilling the beans, which was really cool. So is it diffuse or what do you say that when you try to
Yeah,
bring
yeah, like
somebody
how
down,
to,
diffuse,
yeah,
bring
yeah,
them down?
yeah,
There's an art to it.
yeah.
Uh,
You know what also helps also is technology because cameras are so much smaller now. So when I
mhm.
go to a campus, when I go to a school now and I have a little Osmo camera, it's
Yep.
tiny, it's smaller than my phone.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, that's it. Again, in their minds, they think we're showing up with lights and we're
Yep.
showing up. And I'm like, it's not like they don't realize that I just need 5 minutes of your time to get some quick sound bites. And they're
Right.
like, oh, it's over. The interview's over. I'm like, yes. I'm not going to interview you for an hour because that's an
Yeah.
hour of sound that I have to go through. No, I want to do a quick interview to get
Yeah.
what I need, and we're in and out, and it's very, very fast. That's the kind of stuff that people don't. But also, see, because also I'm explaining it so that it's so simple. That's why people think also, oh, well, it is so simple. No, the fact that you can't make it simple is that's the complexity of it.
That's a
Is that you have
complexity.
to. That's
Yeah.
the complexity of it. And you have to
Yep.
make it simple and execute that. And that's the art, and that's
Yeah.
the task that you have to kind of
Well, that's and
do.
if people invite you to do public speaking and they say, "Hey, you got 7 minutes," I'd rather have an hour than seven
Yeah.
minutes because I got some,
Yeah.
and I don't like public speaking, but I'd rather have an hour than
Yeah.
seven
Yeah.
minutes because there's
You
so
know,
much to simplify that message in 7 minutes.
I I hate public speaking too. And people think I like it because of
Right.
this.
Because of
I
this.
can there's no eyes here.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a reflection of myself right over here. I can see you right here if I want to, but I'm looking at a little dot right
Yeah.
here. This is nothing. This is
Yeah.
fine. But when you have eyes and that
Yeah.
oh
It
no,
gets
no,
tough.
no.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
gets
I don't
tough.
like that. Yeah.
That's good. All right.
It's
So
why I'm good.
I'm
It's why I'm good on TV in the mornings because it's just no one's
you
there.
just say,
It's just
yeah,
me
the whole
talking
I've been to some TV studios and you can't see the people, right? Because all the
nothing.
camera and stuff are in
No.
the dark. They're
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
dark. So yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. We did I shot some videos for the state, and when the person came to the person that hired me came to the studio where we were shooting, she was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to be this much of a production." I was like, "What did you think?" I
Yeah,
was like-
yeah.
she goes, "Wow, this is like a TV studio." I was like, "Yeah, it was all black and just the lights on the actors and stuff." So it was pretty fun.
That's that's cool. That's cool.
Trey? What was your soundtrack in 2002? What are you listening to?
Oh, Britney Spears. I was obsessed. So I've always been I've always loved pop music, pop culture kind of music,
Uh,
very mainstream music, if you will. But I definitely went through like Britney Spears was my big like thing growing up, and then I went through like a phase like in 2002, 3-ish. I went into like a little punk rock kind of phase, but it wasn't
uh-huh.
like hard. It was just like, like the bands that were out like I remember I loved like Good Charlotte and Simple Plan and then Taking Back Sunday and
Yeah.
and like bands like that. But I liked your mainstream stuff. Avril Lavigne was really big my senior year. Destiny's Child and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were the pop stuff, and I gravitate a lot toward mainstream stuff. Yeah.
My daughter is she's a fashion designer, but
Oh.
in school she was a semi goth kid. But but she had like the greatest taste in music, still does. But
Yeah.
uh, she went to an NSYNC concert, and my wife has this great picture of my niece as my sister, my wife, my sister-in-law, her daughter, and my daughter. And the my niece is crying because who was in sync, right? They're
Yeah.
singing to
NSYNC,
her.
yeah.
They're singing to her, right? And she's just bawling. And my daughter's just like, this beautiful picture. Well, now she designs for varsity cheer,
Oh,
which is all
nice.
the dance and cheer outfits. And I think they own like 80% of the market. So she lives
Nice.
in that world of cheerleaders every day. I was like, Jackie, who would
That
have thought this golf kid is,
that's well, to add to that, I used to work at Hot Topic.
oh,
That's where I worked at that store. My mom used to call it, and man, she called it something de Diablo. It's
I
store
was
de
gonna say
Diablo,
El
like
Diablo.
yeah, it was something that because it was all skulls and crossbones. But that's where I worked. So
That's
and also
hilarious.
that was during my little phase. I had my lip pierced, to my lip and my tongue.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you went deep then.
I went through a phase. I went through a phase.
Well, and at graduation, you're sitting there, you don't know what success or what to expect. Looking back now, what does success look like to you?
Being happy, and that sounds so cheesy and so corny, but you know what? Life is so short, and I really feel, and I think right now I'm in this little era of my life where like I'm in my 40s now, and I'm very retrospective, and I'm thinking back just how things were, and just kind of, it's way too short. Just be happy, and just and it I'm so thankful that things. It sounds so corny, but I'm so thankful that things just worked out the way they worked out, and I don't regret anything that I've done. I don't. I look back now very confidently, very just, yeah, like it's too short. Life's too short. Like worry about yourself. We just have to worry about ourselves. My happiness is what matters right now the most. It really does. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in this, especially these days too, because we have so much. Just the world's just a crazy place right now, and I'm just really focused on making myself happy, and being comfortable with myself, and sharing my story, and doing this kind of stuff, and just I find such importance in not just sharing my story, but and you can relate to this, sharing other people's stories, because I
Right.
feel very just, we live in this age right now where we have so much information in front of us and so many stories. And I'm doing this because this is what we're doing it right now.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, I'm in this phase right now where I feel like it's just so important to just be yourself, be happy, and just,
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're
share your
adding, and
story.
what I love about this podcast idea is you add great stories to the world, right? People get to hear a great story. That was a when I mentioned to you about my mom's documentary. She was a simple woman, right? She was a waitress for a while, and then she worked cleaning that big hotel. Not it was I don't know what it was. I think it was a nursing home or whatever downtown Harlingen. There was that big tall
Mhm.
building. She worked in there cleaning that place, and then finally she got a job with the government over there, MHMR. But
Okay.
her story is just beautiful to hear her tell her story. Um, that I was already in love with storytelling because storytelling is so big, and so this thing that I get to do now, I enjoy because people's stories are just it's their story, right? And I try not to interject other people's story because I got so many of my friends and I want to tell, but that's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
It's their
Yeah.
story to tell.
No, but
Um,
but 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 you're doing something. You're giving people a platform for this, and keep hearing people's stories is so important, because we also live in this day and age where everyone wants to get on the camera and make a point,
right.
and that's how we're so argumentative these days,
Yeah.
because I want to get on here and make a point. When you make a point, a much deeper statement, a much deeper impact when you share people's stories, because then you understand why
Yeah.
the root cause behind things and why
Yeah.
people believe what they believe and do what they do. And when you understand that, that to me is how you create change, but over time. People want
Oh
instant
yeah.
change. They want to get on here
Yeah.
no, no,
Change your
no.
mind today. Yeah.
Correct. And it's over time. I not to get in another little soapbox, but going back to my coming out, that's why I share a lot of my story, because it's never been to me to be like, I'm here, I'm queer. You gotta accept me. It's never been that. Never. Even when I came out to my family, I share my story because I want people to just hear how my life has played out. You don't need to know. I didn't make it a thing that I'm Trey Serna, the gay anchor from Channel 5. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Just hear my story. Hear me talk about my life and what I'm doing, what I'm here doing with my husband. Just hear me talk. Everyone has a seat at the table. And when you hear just people talk about their lives, it's just their lives. It becomes a very normal thing. I had a lady come up to me at a restaurant in Harlingen. I'll never forget it. It was like the Mexican restaurant in Harlingen, right across from where, oh my goodness, what's the Mexican restaurant? Not oh my goodness. The
Across
one
from
on
the stadium,
77.
from the football
It's
stadium,
yes.
Los Asados,
Right across from Los Osados. On the other side of the street, down the road. Right across
Mirancho.
from where was it Mirancho? Chihuahuas. But I forgot. But I remember sitting there, and she comes up to me and says, she just told me, she's like, she was, hi, so nice to meet you, blah blah. We watch every morning. And she's like, thank you. And she didn't say thank you for being gay and thank you. She just said thank
You
you
were
so
being
much.
gay.
She didn't say something so obvious. She was just like, thank you for being yourself. And she just
Yeah.
like, the way she said it though was so like intentful. And she shook my hand, and I knew what she meant.
Right.
And she talked about her son, and I knew what she meant, because she knew that I knew that meant me just in the mornings. I used to just talk about my life. I was never like I'm just talking about life, and that's what we
Yeah.
need to do is just talk, hear people's stories, and that's why when you reached out, I was like, oh, and I was so happy to do it, because it's home. It's what people need to hear, where people started and where they end up and how they get there, and it's just so important to share that kind of stuff.
Well,
So
you answered my next question without me asking it. So, but I'll pray. I'll say it just because I
yeah,
was
go
going
ahead,
to
go ahead, go
ask
ahead.
you that. What do you want that your story? How do you want your story to affect other people? But you just did. That was beautiful.
Yeah, no,
Um,
and that's kind of, yeah, no, I mean that's really that's where that's a big motivation behind a lot of stuff that I even do, like on social too. I want people to just, especially now that I work at a school district too, and I see younger kids, and I hear younger kids talk about their lives and the way they talk so much more openly, and just they're so much more comfortable. It makes me happy that they feel like that, because I growing up, as hard as it is, and we all felt awkward growing up.
right.
When you have other kind of stuff, it just makes it that much harder. So it's just
Yeah.
important to just continue sharing
Everybody's going through
stories.
something. I follow
Right.
Gary Vee. Do you know who Gary Vee is? He's a big social media influencer, and he was probably one of the first big guys out there. But he says,
Nice.
and he's real. Uh, his words are pretty colorful. he drops the F bomb like nobody's business.
I do
And
too. I'm sorry. I think I did one on here. I'm
no,
so
that's okay.
sorry.
It's this is I always tell people be.
No, and I relate. So what's funny, a big thing for me being on air, that's probably a big thing that not I struggle, but I have to be very mindful of it, because I do talk very colorfully.
Right.
I talk very, very.
Yeah.
I love offensive humor. I'm very careful, but that's one thing I have to be very, very careful with,
Very
because
careful.
I'm
Yeah. Some people
very,
aren't.
yes.
Yeah. To my
It rolls off the
family,
tongue.
when I introduce you to my family, I say if they don't give you a hard time, you need to worry about if they like you or not.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
my
yeah.
family, we have harsh humor. My wife laughs. She goes, "I could never say any of this stuff in my family." Because like I say,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a you have to do that in my family, and you got to be better than the other guy at doing this.
Yes, yes, and also being the youngest, you probably feel that you gotta step it up. And yes, I can relate. I
Yeah,
can relate.
yeah, it's so good. Um, all right, Trey. What do you write? Sit down and write a letter to yourself at 17. What do you tell yourself?
I, it doesn't even have to be a letter. I can honestly, it'd be two words. Don't worry, because it goes back to exactly what I told you. The graduation night, I was standing there worried. That was probably the biggest thing. I was so worried about my life. I was worried about, I knew I needed to come out, but I was so young. I knew I
Oh,
needed a career. I knew I needed to go to school. I knew I needed all these things, all these things that we were so young and we're worried and we're 17, and I was worried about all these things. And it sounds so cheesy, but I would say that because, man, life had a way of working itself out. It really did. And not that life's perfect right now. There's things right now that I, man, wish we could
right.
change and make. It's not perfect. It's an ebb and flow. And there's things that are happening now in my life that I never would have thought would happen, and am dealing with them okay. And not in a bad way, but you learn to deal with life.
Right.
That's just kind of, you learn to deal with it, and then we die.
Yeah,
That's that.
that's so good.
you know
Yeah, and that also the perspective of everyone is going through something. And then, what do you want to be said about you when it's all said and done?
I definitely don't want people to be like, "Oh, he was the life of the party." I hope people don't do that. When I'm gone, I hope people remember me for you actually described me earlier when you said that I was a lot like your wife. That I am a softie. I present loud. I present obnoxious. I can present all these things, but I care about that. I want people. I want to be I hope people remember me as a thoughtful person, as yeah, I did try. Not to be the life of the party, but yeah, I do try to make things more enjoyable. I
Hmm.
try to make work more enjoyable because work sucks, and we all have to be together for so many hours. Like, just things that we get in ourselves, and we get in our routines, and we get so angry, and we get so about these things. I really truly try to reset myself every morning when I'm just like, you know what? Let's just let's just enjoy what we got going on, because things happen, things change, and when it happens, and then we're not going to do anything about it because we're not going to be
Yeah,
here anymore. You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
So,
That's
God,
true.
like, just, yeah, like, it's literally just, man, just enjoy what we got, enjoy it.
Yeah, you don't have to go buy all the toilet paper at HEB just because.
Man, you know what though, man? Man, I do. You know what? As an introvert and extrovert, I do miss quarantine though. I do
You
miss a
do.
good quarantine. Man, when the world shut down, I was like, leave me alone. I got my toilet paper. We're good. Leave me alone. Man,
That's so
what
good.
what a time. What a
But I
time.
was used to that because being from the valley, anytime there's a hurricane, they clean out HEB.
No, and I also grew up with a Mexican mom, so we were always stocked up with everything. So we did. We were
All right,
we were good.
that's good. So my famous question is like, did I miss something? Is there something you wish I would have asked you that we didn't talk about?
No, if anything, I loved. If anything, you asked questions that. Thank you. Like, hello, you made me cry. You're like a damn Oprah here.
Well, that's
No,
the
I
first
loved
I
it.
hear that.
You were so complimentary, and so like, oh, I'm gonna talk to Trey, and so like first, like, number one, you were amazing at everything you did. Number two, you asked questions that were so, you made me think of things I hadn't thought of, and just, I loved it. Yeah, no, thank you. This is a great conversation. I loved it.
Very
There's
cool,
nothing.
man.
Yeah,
Well, Trey, I hope I can now call you a friend.
of
It's
course.
this has been a blast. I can't believe I was like looked at it like, what else can I ask him?
I'm gonna after we're done here, I'll have to go follow on all the socials and connect, because we were supposed to do this a long time ago, but
Yeah.
our technology didn't our
Well,
technology was like, no. And what's funny, I remember when my sister reached out, I replied back. I remember thinking, when you didn't reply back, I was like, well, okay, I guess he did. I guess he did too. I was like, man.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So,
how do I reach back out? Like, hey, do you want to? Are you sure you
yeah.
don't want to talk? I didn't know what to do, so I was like, I guess he doesn't want to. So,
Have you heard that concept of 50 miles in a suit in a briefcase?
no,
So
or maybe I have, but it doesn't
you
ring a
have
bell.
more credibility with people that live 50 miles away from you. So you can go to like, say you're doing something in town and you go to your family like, get out of here, you know. But 50 miles in a briefcase, you get the credibility that you deserve.
You're right. That's actually that's so true. I like that.
And so yeah, it's so yeah, even when I interviewed my brother, I was not that I was nervous, and I knew the most of the answers, right? Because it was a
Yeah,
story. But I found out some stuff about my brother that we had never talked about. So it was pretty cool.
that
It
is
was pretty
cool. That is
cool.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So Trey, again, I appreciate your time, man. This has been so much fun.
No, thank you.
We went over, man. I hope you're okay with that.
Of course, if
But
you ever want to do a follow up or whatever, hey, hit me up.
we will. We
I'm
will,
happy to
man.
talk.
Oh, you
Yes.
have a wonderful day. And again, thank you, brother. And I love this.
You too, man. Have a good one. Have a great
Take
weekend.
care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.